you are being introduced, what exactly are you supposed to do? First, listen carefully and focus on the names. It's nice to meet you, Liz is an excellent way to cement the name in your memory. And then if you do not catch the name, it's okay to say, I'm sorry, I didn't get your last name. Or, could you please tell me your name again? Another thing you need to do is respond graciously. After a formal introduction, one of the ways you can respond will be, it's nice to meet you, or I'm very pleased to meet you, which is applicable to both formal and informal context. And then, using the person's name when responding adds warmth to your response. Use the names by which people are introduced. For example, if somebody has been introduced to you as Peter, do not go ahead and say, oh, hi, Pete, calling him Pete. No, unless the person says it's okay to do that. If the person is introduced with a title, use the title in your response. Avoid familiarity or sexist words like, hey, buddy, pal, sweetie, honey. Within the context of this formal introduction, it is not applicable, except it's a casual gathering and you probably have known each other over time. It's also okay to correct mistakes right up front. If person who is doing the introduction mistakenly says your name in a wrong way, you could just go ahead and graciously make the correction saying, please, I go by Debbie. How about when you are repeatedly introduced incorrectly, say by a title or a nickname you don't like? What you need to do is take the person aside and correct him as nicely, as graciously as possible and say, I use Michael now. Would you introduce me that way? Now, wait until all introductions have been done. Do not jump into the conversation and then initiate a topic and begin to converse while some people are yet to be introduced. Listen for conversation cues. My neighbor, my sister, or some form of title are conversation cues that you can also use to initiate or start up conversations. How about when someone forgets to introduce you? Let me paint a scenario here. You're talking with someone and then somebody comes into your conversations and then they begin to talk. But these two people know each other and then you do not know the person who has come into the conversation, of which you're beginning to feel like a third wheel. Remember that the chances are that the person who failed to introduce you probably assumed or is assuming that you know the person, or she may have blanked out your name completely and hoping that you will actually speak up. So what you need to do is when there is a break in the conversation, you could break in, address the newcomer with a pleasant, hi, I don't think we've met though. I'm Eniola Onokoya. And guess what? Problem solved for everybody. Self-introduction. Well, it may take a little courage for you to walk up to somebody you don't know, approaching the person and introducing yourself. But it is really one of the easiest introductions to do. After all, you definitely know your own name. And you know that at large events, it is definitely impossible for the host to introduce everybody. So be prepared to introduce yourself. Within this context, self-introductions are expected and they're usually relatively casual. Hello, I'm Eniola Onokoya is usually a very good start. And a simple reply, hi Eniola, I am Tamara Adams. It's nice to meet you is a good way to start a conversation. When someone introduces himself to you, when someone who doesn't know you introduces him or herself to you, introduce yourself in return. There's nothing worse than introducing yourself and saying, hi, I'm Yemisi Adewumi, only to hear the person say, or only to hear the person respond, hi. There's no way to gracefully start a conversation or to find out a person's name than to ask. So you could go and your name is, how awkward.